Welcome back to the GrowCast show. This is episode 62. I'm your host, Lisa White, and today we have Joseph Hang, retirement specialist from Massive Wealth Management. Welcome to the GrowCast show, Joseph.
Hi, Lisa. Hi.
Joseph, what does being better than normal mean to you?
Okay, so this is a very good question. It's a motto that I actually follow by every day, which is to be 1% better each day. Okay, it's actually a motto that is given to me by my current mentor in MWM. And basically what it means is that you do not want to be mediocre in life. So what, as a quote said, right, it said about setting higher standards so that you will not, waste your life away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what makes you better than normal?
I would say my high level of empathy is my greatest strength. When it comes to finding the pain points for clients, be it retirement or legacy planning, that's when I can quickly find it and spot the issue and then provide solutions for them.
How did your journey as a financial advisor begin? What inspired you to be an FA?
So it's a long story. Back in 2015, when I graduated, I was studying mechanical engineering and it wasn't of my interest. So I decided to come out and work for my uncle. So my very first job, I was doing diamond sales. And unlike conventional way of selling diamonds, you're just telling the person, oh, why not you buy the biggest? The biggest carat is the brightest. But what I learned was to actually give a diamond education to teach them how to select a good diamond compared to the 4 C's. So basically there's a color, carat, clarity, as well as cut. And when I give the education to the customer, the client, they actually realize that, oh, there's so much to just choosing a diamond than to just pick the biggest gem out there. And when it comes to that, I was kind of inspired and I want to do something relatable to my life as well. The same education translated to financial planning. Okay, so when I joined the industry in 2016, okay, I was hit by a big blow, which is the loss of my dad in 2016. It was a sudden loss. He had a heart attack and it wasn't with any pre-existing conditions. So when that happened, it taught me the importance of financial planning. It taught me the importance of insurance and having a good contingency plan. Yeah.
Why did you choose to join IFA instead of Tide FA?
I actually tasted both. So I joined IFA in the later part of my career. The first 2 years I was in Prudential and that's a Tide FA. And what I did was to sell one product from a company. And I realized that based on a survey, 82% of consumers, they actually prefer to have personalized recommendations rather than being tied to a specific products from a company. Yeah, so from there, I actually make a move. After 2 years plus in Prudential, I decided to take a leap of faith and move to an IFA. And that's where my career actually blossomed. And at the same time, I get more options like going for a buffet. So when you go for a buffet, you get to select the best dishes for your clients.
Why do you specialize in retirement planning?
Okay, so retirement planning, it's something that sounds very abstract, very complicated for clients. And my nature is I like to approach something that's challenging and to simplify it for my customers. Mm-hmm. And one of my expertise would be on the CPF portion. All Singaporeans, they have CPF, some form or another. And they may be, some people, they are more towards the self-employed. They do not have the contributions to CPF, but they still need to do for their MA contributions, which is the MediSave portion. And CPF being the basis of the foundation for retirement planning, it actually got me very interested. I was like very intrigued and fascinated by how this thing works for Singaporean. So I went to do more research, attended courses to go and learn more about CPF. And from there, I developed a passion to share more knowledge on CPF and how can my customers actually optimize CPF to the best that they can.
In your experience, what is the number one concern that Singaporeans have in regards to retirement?
Okay, the number one concern would be financial adequacy, which is they are worried that they do not have enough resources to achieve their desired retirement income. So for example, if let's say you were to go for a long journey, a long vacation, for example, Finland, and that is where you pack your bags, you buy the ticket, you buy the accommodation, and when you travel there, you realize, oh, I do not have enough money to spend. I do not have enough money to enjoy the journey. So that's where the lack of resources for them when it comes to retirement. And I do feel that this is something that comes with financial literacy and being aware of what is the available options for them in the market. Yeah.
Being a father yourself, what is your view of raising a child in Singapore and the rising cost of living?
Okay, this is very applicable to me. I have just gotten my daughter last May, and now she's 16 months. So time flies, and I would say I come to ponder about these questions when I have my child. Yeah. So the cost of living, the rising cost of delivery. Yeah. But when it comes to that, I would say there's two sides of coin. One is the rising cost, the responsibility that you have. Another part would be the joy that you get from raising a child. So for me, I feel that when it comes to raising a child, it comes with a lot of love and care, and at the same time, the joy of watching your loved one actually blossom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. How young is too young to start thinking about retirement?
So it's never too young to start retirement. The same thing, the same concept that you use for planting a tree, right? If you want to plant a mango tree, it's going to take a long time to actually grow and to reap fruits. So the same thing applies for when it comes to retirement planning. And in fact, this is a very common issue that people think that they should prioritize other aspects instead of retirement. So things like education for their kids, they want to set aside for short-term goals. But when it comes to retirement, they think that it's too early. So even though I specialize in people that is 40s and above, but when it comes to 30s, I am in the age group, and I experience the common things that people actually make mistakes from, which is to delay on investing, delay on setting aside for your retirement nest egg.
Yeah, I think it's because we also think it's so far away from us, so we don't really have to think about it so much.
Yes.
What is your secret weapon for convincing people to start their retirement planning, especially if it's somebody young?
Okay, so I don't really have a secret weapon. I think it's the data and the statistics are out there, to share with you the rising cost of inflation. Everything's out there. But what I let my client know is that retirement is actually not the end point, not the destination. It's actually a journey. So many of times people feel that for retirement, once they hit retirement, okay, they are done. They do not have any further goals or anything. But you realize that when you reach retirement age, for example, if you're in the 30s and you have maybe another 30 years more to retire, what are you going to do after that, right? Where are you going to get your income from? So I always tell them that the net worth is actually your employer. So that would actually make them think, because if they were to retire, who's going to pay them the money they need for their expenses, for their lifestyle that they desire? And that would be their net worth or their assets that they have accumulated over time.
How do you approach retirement planning with clients, considering the rising cost of living in Singapore?
Okay, so I have developed this framework called PENCIL, PENCIL. So the first letter, P, stands for plan. So it's always good to know your desired retirement age, your desired retirement income, as well as the rate of inflation that you are expecting. Usually, I'll give my client maybe between 2.5 to 3%. I don't want to bring it up so high so that they'll be scared off by the huge number, right? But at the same time, planning stage is actually the very first step to take when it comes to setting aside for your retirement. So the second alphabet would be to execute. Okay, so if you are planning but you don't execute it, it's actually failing.
That's true.
Yeah, so I would always want to ensure I'm there for my client to execute the plan. Okay, the third thing would be to navigate. So this is where the importance of a financial advisor or a retirement specialist to be around, because when you want to navigate the complexity of retirement, you want to know how to go through different storms, to weather different storms. You need a professional to do it. Okay, yeah. The fourth alphabet would be C. So C itself refers to capital growth, and that's more referring to the different aspects of retirement planning. Okay, for people in the early 30s, they have a time frame to actually go for growth funds. So the main purpose is to accumulate and to grow instead of letting your money get eroded by inflation. Okay, so that's for C. The fifth alphabet would be income. So income would be more towards the people of the 50s and above. Okay, of course, it would be good to have a multiple source of income at an early age. Like if I'm 34, if I have multiple source of income, is the best. But of course, some people, they use this stage to actually accumulate and grow their money. Whereas for the 50s and above, they would like to have to enjoy the fruit of the labor and to get multiple sources of income, be it dividends, rental, or many different aspects. Okay, and the last L refers to legacy. So it's about leaving a footprint in the life of your loved ones. Legacy means leaving an inheritance for people. So this is actually a neglected part because a lot of people think that being in a lot of people think that legacy is for the wealthy. They think that only rich people plan to set aside for inheritance.
Yeah. How can someone save effectively without feeling like they're sacrificing their lifestyle?
Okay, so I think one very good example would be CPF. You realize many people, they like to spend, so they don't have much in their bank account, right? Whereas when you look at their CPF, they log into via SingPass, they realize, wow, I have quite a lot in CPF. So this is the thing about, having a system, having automation to help you. And I think you can apply the same thing to, saving, using automation via Gyro, to take a portion of your income, set aside and do not touch it. Yeah. So you realize it accumulates and it's quite a amazing amount if you were to set aside, say, 20% of your income every month.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness for the government forcing us to save. Otherwise, a lot of us would have no savings, myself included, I think. Okay. What's a simple saving strategy that you recommend that sounds boring, but it actually works?
Yeah. So I would say the simplest, but the most effective would be to add like a rule of thumb. So there's this 50, 30, 20 budgeting rule. Okay. So whenever you have an income, right, 50% of it will be used for your needs, things that you really need to spend on. For example, if in my case, my kids, she has to have her milk powder, diapers and all, as well as, for example, paying mortgage and all. But there's a 30%, okay, that you use for your wants. So wants means you got to protect your sanity. You got to enjoy life. At the same time, you must plan for the future. So wants could be, you want to get your facial that you want, or you want to have that short holiday so that you can recharge. And the last 20%, okay, will be set aside for your savings or investments. So that 20% is up to you. You could be setting aside more for aggressive investment, or some people, they are willing to go heavily on crypto, not financial advice, but that is what some of the youngsters like to do now. But there are some people that's maybe on the 40s to 50s, they are prefer to set on a more balanced risk appetite.
How do you help clients navigate emotional aspects of investing, particularly during market downturns?
Okay, that's a very, very good question because the market is very different compared to 20 years, 30 years ago. Now, whenever you turn on the news, you do see like bad negative news like war or any, in the US, there's so much things happening, right? So if you were to be affected, you turn on the news and be affected, you'll be making rashless decision. For example, you want to just cut loss, or you want to just withdraw your funds that is meant to be set aside for 30 years down the road. So you are actually jeopardizing your long-term goals for just because you are being emotional. And so what I tell my client is that you have to stay on course, just like a plane. In order to get off the runway, you have to stay on course, not to drift aside. Yeah, and I would say that's a very common issue people have, because the stats that says that most of the people that lost out in investments, they are actually not sticking to plan, right? They were, for example, if you get an investment plan and you decide to prematurely terminate it, that results in a huge loss. Yeah.
Okay. How does insurance play a part in retirement planning?
Okay, insurance is actually, it works as a safety net. So I always tell my client, because when it comes to specializing in retirement planning, they do not like to hear the word insurance. So I will tell them that this is a pre-retirement essential, right? It sounds good. Yeah, but the main issue is that if you were to set aside so much money for your future, but you don't get to enjoy it, or it could be something just crop up, right? It could be HSBC. HSBC meaning heart attack, stroke, bypass, and cancer, for example. These are the four major chronic illness or critical illness. Okay, if this happens, it's going to wipe up your saving for your retirement. And so when it comes to that, insurance comes in play. Another aspect will be healthcare costs. Or you have been seeing news that medical costs is increasing, hospital plans are rising in cost. Yeah, but there's a reason why there is a need for those plans. Those plans are designed to mitigate the risk of you wiping out your money just because of all these unforeseen circumstances.
What What role does CPF play in retirement planning?
Okay, CPF, it's very important. It's actually the basis of all retirement planning in Singapore. And in fact, if you are an employee, you are contributing 20% to your CPF, your employer is contributing 17% to your CPF. That's for 55 and below. And a huge amount of 37% goes into your CPF. And they will segment into 3 different accounts. So there's OA, SA, and MA. Ordinary account, special account, and MediSave account. So each of the account plays a role. But let's talk about the one that is for retirement. So special account is the one set aside that you can't touch, and it's meant for your retirement. Okay. So when it comes to the role of a CPF in retirement planning, I believe most people use this as a foundation. It's a starting point for them to actually set aside for their full retirement sum. This year, the full retirement sum is 205,800. So it means that those at the age of 55, they have to set aside this amount so that they can get a lifetime stream of income at the age of 65. So everyone has a number, have a target to hit. And this shows that the importance of CPF for retirement planning. However, I got to emphasize that CPF is not just the main thing that you rely on. You got to have supplements as well, because the cost of living in Singapore is high, and you got to factor in that you have more responsibilities in the future. It could be kids, it could be multiple properties. Yeah, so those are financial liabilities or commitments or responsibilities you got to be factored in when it comes to your retirement planning as well.
How can Singaporeans maximize their CPF without feeling like it's a part-time job?
Okay, so one common issue is that people do not understand CPF. They see that it's so complicated and they decide to just, run away from it. But the fact that for me, I like to understand CPF. Whenever CPF has a new rule, there's a new rule change, I will read up on it. I'll increase my knowledge on CPF. So there are things that the CPF actually recommend. For example, top-ups or voluntary contributions if you're self-employed, or there's other schemes involved, but I don't want to go too in-depth in that for this podcast. So the main thing is to increase your knowledge on CPF so that you know how to optimize on it, be it tax saving, or it could be contributing to your loved ones. Yeah.
As in like putting some money of from your CPF into another loved one's, is it?
Yes.
Okay. What is your take on the various CPF life schemes?
Okay, so just for your info, CPF Life is actually ranked number 1 in terms of the pension scheme in Asia.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, I feel it's my own personal opinion. I feel that CPF Life helps a lot of Singaporeans to retire. Right. Of course, we hear the bad side of it, which is you can't take out the money and you have to, maybe you start withdrawing from the age of 65 onwards. But if you leave the world early, then you will take less of it. Yeah. But then again, I feel that CPF Life helps people to stay on course, because many people, they use their money for house and they make bad financial decisions. So it's important to have a structured pension scheme to help them to achieve their retirement goals. Yeah. And in fact, for me, when I approach my customer, many of them want to know about CPF first before they explore other financial products.
Okay. What is the number one biggest retirement planning mistake that people make?
Okay, so the number one biggest mistake that people make is that they underestimate the amount needed for retirement. Okay, that could be because they didn't know the effect of inflation. I would say commonly when you look at people around you, they probably feel the effect of inflation, but they do not know how to translate it to action. Right? They could be like, wow, this chicken rice is $1.50 in the past. Now it's like, oh, maybe $8. That's for a good chicken rice, right? But they don't know what to go about dealing with this rising cost. Right? The number one way would be to do investments to make sure that your money is working harder for you.
I see. Okay, that's interesting. What are the 3 most common financial misconceptions that you encounter among clients in Singapore?
Okay, so the number 1 would be people think that they can just rely on CPF for retirement. But the fact that you setting aside, for example, 205,800 for your full retirement sum and getting maybe around 1,500 to 1,600 per month, at the same time, you do not have other source of retirement income. And that's not enough to sustain a comfortable affordable living in Singapore, right? It could be you have commitments like paying for your car, paying your mortgage, or you want to have just want to go for a dream cruise or to somewhere. It costs an amount, so it's gonna be difficult if you were to set aside a low benchmark, maybe 1,500, 1,600, if you are already spending more than it during your productive working years. So legacy planning is for the wealthy. So this is a very big misconception that I've encountered for clients that I've mentioned about retirement planning and legacy planning. So what they think is that legacy planning is only for those with lots of assets and lots of money. But the fact that I feel is relevant for everyone right now. If you're looking at a BTO price, you've seen the news, wow, Bidadari is selling for 1 million after MOP, right? Yeah, so this brings me to think a lot about my child. If my child were to grow up and you want a BTO, it's going to cost more than 1 million. And with so much money set aside, for example, they are using their ordinary account, how are they going to set aside money for their retirement? And their retirement their full retirement sum wouldn't be 205,000 like now. It's going to be more than 500,000, right? Because the news has said it's going to be 3.5% increment every year. So if you're to factor in this, right, it's going to be alarming for most people. And I've always tell parents that you can't just leave it to them. You can't just say, oh, your child has to work harder and to just inherit the house or what. It's going to be more than that. Yeah. So I always inform them to plan ahead and to factor in the cost of living in Singapore. Yeah. So the third misconception that I counter is that some people, they are not savvy enough. They say that investment is too risky. So they are scared to go into investments. So for those people, I tend to be the one that is not so literate in terms of financial news, financial products. Okay. For them, I tell them that leaving their money in banks, earning for example, a fixed D or just a saving account is going to be also a risk. The risk is that you are losing it out to inflation. So just imagine that your money is growing at maybe 2.5%, right? But inflation is higher than 2.5%. So where are you going to make up that loss of the value of money? Yeah.
How can people avoid these 3 pitfalls without feeling overwhelmed?
Okay, the first thing to do is to start. So when it comes to investing, I would recommend clients of a younger age to actually start early and to start small, because some of them may not be too ready to actually start a big amount. So why not start small? It's better than doing nothing. And the second thing would be to increase your financial literacy via listening to podcasts, reading more financial news. Okay. And the third one would be to seek professional advice. And that's where I come into play. Yeah.
What are your views on the closure of special account from age 55 onwards?
Okay, so this is a big change in CPF. The closure of special account applies for people age 55. And this change actually will take effect next year, January. Okay, so this actually encourages people to take a more active approach when it comes to managing their money. And I believe that it's going to prompt more people to perhaps consider other options to withdraw. Okay, at the same time, CPF, what I do feel about CPF is that they actually take a very drastic change, because initially they were talking about banning shielding. Okay, at the age of 55, they were saying that, they were going to ban this approach, okay, this loophole. And CPF actually came in, and instead of doing that, they actually totally removed the special account at the age of 55. So I would say people would actually be a bit shocked by this news. But at the same time, it actually gives people a chain of thought to actually do more things with their cash withdrawal. At the same time, CPF also offer the option of increasing the enhanced retirement scheme, the ERS, to 4 times the basic retirement sum. So that actually prompt them to it's like a poker game. You're gonna all in, or you're gonna just end up with nothing. Yeah.
What are digital banks, and how do they function in Singapore's financial landscape?
Okay, digital banks are financial institutions that do not have a physical branches in Singapore. So without a physical branch, they get to save up on costs. So while they save up on costs, they can actually offer maybe better interest, higher interest for consumers. And I think this is a game changer. But at the same time, people have to practice I would say have to think before they actually embark into that as well, because it's a new thing, but at the same time it offers them more flexibility and align with the influx of AI. Yeah.
Why do you think many people underestimate healthcare costs?
Okay, so recent studies by HPB, Health Promotion Board, actually found that it actually requires maybe 1,000 to 2,000 monthly for healthcare costs for retiree. So many people think that perhaps their hospital plan is sufficient, but hospital plan do not cover things like supplements, because I always believe that of course we want to be healthy, but our body is like a machine, maybe the first 60 years is perfect, is fine, but after 60 years old, towards the later part of life, it could be I would say jeopardized. It could be because of health issue, or it could be not maybe a lifestyle change. So you got to factor in something on top of the hospital cost, which is you got to maybe eat more supplements, buy more products that can help you in ensuring their health doesn't turn back.
How can people prepare for the inevitable rising healthcare costs in retirement?
Okay, one way would be to start investing early, okay, to make sure that your money is working harder for you. And I always tell my client that don't be afraid of risk, because doing nothing is the biggest risk of all. Okay, and second thing is to talk to your financial advisor to look at getting the right health insurance to ensure that your medical bills are covered for. And thirdly, you got to be looking at regular health checkups. So this off insurance is not about buying insurance, but it's more about protecting your health. So doing regular checkups via, it could be via your company, is to ensure that your body is in good health. Yeah, when you're in peak of health, your bills wouldn't come crashing on you, right? It's to ensure that you can detect any, for example, cancer early, so that the bills wouldn't come in heavy for you.
What is the funniest and most absurd misconception that you've heard about investment?
Okay, I've encountered this customer. So he's earning 10,000 a month, and he drives a car. He owns multiple properties, and he told me that when it comes for his retirement income, he said 1,000 is sufficient. Yeah, so not to doubt him, but normally I do feel like people do not want to drastically change their lifestyle, especially after retirement. So if you are spending say 4,000-5,000 a month, and suddenly you are okay to live with a $1,000 per month lifestyle, I think it doesn't match. Yeah. So I always believe that maybe a good guideline would be a 30% reduction, because I feel like for retirees, they will choose to have a lifestyle that they truly desire. Yeah, and it's deserved for them.
That's a good point, actually. I think when a lot of us think about retirement, we always think, when we're older, maybe we won't want to do so much things because we're old, but we still want to live a good life, right? So I guess if you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would that be?
Okay, if I have a crystal ball and I can turn back the hands of time, I would say maybe invest in the Bitcoin or Nvidia or GameStop, but unfortunately that's not the case. So if I were to give the best advice, it would be to increase my financial literacy. Back then when I was in junior college, I wasn't really interested in economics, but I realized it's so important in the financial landscape. You gotta be staying relevant, learn many things about financial. You got to be reading more news so that you can be aware of the global affairs.
Yeah. How can someone create a legacy through retirement planning?
Okay. So legacy planning and retirement planning comes in tandem. Okay. So there are some products in the market that is structured and designed to preserve your wealth for legacy, at the same time providing you a stream of income. And for me, all these products exist for a certain customer base. And I think that's how legacy can be structured in when it comes to retirement planning.
What's the most entertaining way to explain estate planning?
Okay, one of the way that I used to explain is to liken it to a grand party. So if you are trying to arrange or organize a grand party, the first thing you do is to organize the guest list. And in this case, it refers to the beneficiary, how your assets want to be distributed. And the second thing would be the venue for the grand party, which refers to your assets. Okay, so your assets has to be well taken care of for the beneficiaries or the guests to actually enjoy. And the third thing would be the menu, which refers to your wishes. how you want your assets to be distributed. Okay, and the fourth thing would be the party planner, which is someone that you trust to carry out your wishes, carry out the estate planning. And the fifth thing would be the emergency plan, which I link it to the contingency, because you do not want a uninvited guest to appear in your party. And lastly would be to send out invitations so that your beneficiaries is aware of this plan.
What financial misconceptions do you frequently encounter with regards to estate planning?
Okay, I would say the first one would be people feel that they are too young to think about estate planning. Yeah, but what I would tell them is that death also do not choose age. It could be a young infant or it could be a elderly due to old age. Yeah, so it's good to start thinking about it earlier. And the second thing would be they always think that the family will figure it out. But based on my experience wise, it's sometimes when they're feeling distraught, they're feeling upset. It's not easy for them to handle these kind of things at that moment. And last thing would be they think that will covers everything. One example would be your CPF proceeds. It has you need to do nomination because the will does not cover that aspect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What if someone had a bad experience in dealing with their past insurance agents? What would you tell them to make them feel better?
Okay, so normally I'll just brush it off with a joke, like saying that, oh, they haven't met me yet.
Okay.
Yeah, but honestly, that's a very common question that I've met, because sometimes in this industry there could be black sheeps, there could be bad eggs, but I think it's not fair to actually judge the rest based on that bad experience. So it's like having for example, if you are using social media or you're using dating apps, there are bound to be some that doesn't work out. Whereas for my case, I met my wife through dating apps and we are married happily ever after. So I would say give it some faith, maybe you haven't found the right one yet.
Okay. Yeah. Can you share a memorable success story with us where your advice significantly impacted a client's financial situation?
Okay, so this happened around 3 years back when I met this client of mine. He was looking to buy term insurance or mortgage insurance. So for this case, he's looking more towards asset protection. And it's actually one of the prerequisites when it comes to retirement planning. So when I met him, he actually told me that he got a plan from the bank. So when I looked through and I assessed his plan, I realized that there's a missing information about his health declaration. He didn't declare certain health declaration, and he told me that it's not because he didn't want to declare, but the process of signing up with the bank became so quick and they didn't really manage to maybe declare that portion. So I went to rectify it, because I believe if there's a case for claim, it will be rejected because of omission of data in terms of the existing health condition. So 1 year later, I rectified it with a more competitive plan, at the same time with a transparent declaration of his health condition. He actually had a heart attack and he passed on just 1 year after taking up the plan. And that resulted in his beneficiaries getting 1 million that is used to cover the condo that they purchased.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What is one myth about retirement that you wish people would stop believing?
I would say when it comes to retirement, people think that it's going to be, just sitting at home, enjoying a cup of tea and just, wait for time to pass. But I feel like when it comes to retirement, it's not just about the numbers, but it's also about the emotional aspect where you want to pursue something that you have never pursued. It could be learning a new hobbies. It could be traveling to somewhere that you have never traveled to. It could be learning about Bitcoin, crypto, which is something that I came to a surprise, because recently I went Vietnam and I came across an elderly attending a cryptocurrency conference.
Wow.
Yeah, so they are actually learning even at this age.
How do you stay motivated in your work as a financial advisor?
Okay, one of my greatest motivation would be my child. So she's the reason why I'm trying to work hard for my client. And second thing would be the client success. So whenever my client actually achieves certain success in life, I feel like I feel proud to be part of the journey. And that is actually one of the greatest motivation in my work as well.
How can Singaporeans keep up with financial trends and tips?
Okay, I would say you can maybe perhaps attend more classes about financial. I've heard of some courses where you have to perhaps put an investment, you got to pay so that you can know more about financial news. However, I would say there are many free options out there. It could be a podcast, it could be some Instagram accounts that is sharing more about financial tips. Some are also exploring Telegram. Yeah, Telegram, there's many groups where they are talking about financial news and things that you want to stay relevant in. Yeah.
I've seen some of those Telegram groups and they teach you how to do like Forex trading and etc.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Joseph. We've come to the end of episode 62 with Joseph, retirement specialist at Massive Wealth Management. Thank you so much. We learned so much from you today.
Thank you.
Thanks.